welcome to this retrospective on the Perfect Dark series, preparing for the future of Perfect Dark and just exploring Perfect Dark as a whole. And I'm here with my very good friend, MINDFULPIG. How are you doing, MINDFULPIG?
Not too bad, my friend. Excited to do this with you. Okay, so a while back, I think it was our end of the year podcast, JW and me had, we ended up doing extremely well on the video. So I put out a challenge. I said, if we hit 500 views, JW and me will think of something special to do for you guys as a thank you for getting us that milestone. And like I was just telling JW, we ended up hitting 677 views, which was fantastic. Thank you again for everyone that contributed towards that. We had a lot of great suggestions, and there's other ones that JW and I have talked about that we'll probably use for later videos. But one that we both felt pretty passionate about was Perfect Dark. We thought this would be a great opportunity to finally give our review on Perfect Dark. We think this game deserves some praise, and we think there's some people out there that might still actually really enjoy going through this particular game. And it's the best time to do it, because we got the newer one coming out hopefully in the next year or so. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, but that's the funny thing with Perfect Dark. It does so many stuff well, and yet it's sort of forgotten. Like, nobody talked about Perfect Dark really. My history with it is like growing up, it was sort of like considered the GoldenEye 007 clone, right? It was like, oh, GoldenEye is great, the greatest game on the N64, right? And so everybody has GoldenEye, nobody has Perfect Dark.
Absolutely, that's exactly how was my friend group too. We all played GoldenEye. I've heard of Perfect Dark back when I had it in 64, but it, like you said, it was kind of like the brother, ew, like why would I touch that when I could have GoldenEye? And then like I know I heard the next one was a Perfect Dark Zero that was on the Xbox. Again, it was kind of like a miss. There wasn't a lot of great reviews about it, which now I'm thinking back to, I'm like, damn, like Rare N64 Rare at least was amazing. It was a juggernaut.
Oh yeah.
And as we go through this, right, we're gonna really open your guys' eyes to why, even though it's whatever it is 20 years ago now, why it's still necessary to go back and play that game, because there is a lot to offer to you. I mean, you think of like Conquer and Jet Force Gemini, like there were so many good N64 games that, like, now when I look at what Xbox has done with it, it is like a travesty. Like, it is devastating what they've done, because yeah, like that company had so much potential and so many great ideas in each of those games that they put together. Yeah, it's a real shame. It's a real shame that they didn't get to continue that after N64.
Perfect Dark, made by Rare Limited, which was a British studio which developed a bunch of amazing titles, like we mentioned, 007, GoldenEye, which was probably like the most popular game on the N64, or like almost ever. My personal favorite Conquer Bad Fur Day, like of course, Banjo Kazooie. Yeah, they just made a bunch of great stuff before being bought by Xbox at some point. Every people that worked on Perfect Dark, Conquer, and all those games left when they got bought by Xbox. So the Rare that is owned by Xbox is not the Rare of the N64 times.
Does it say on there if they ended up going to a different company or making their own company?
Well, I know some of them, when they left, they made their own studio and end up creating TimeSplitters on the, I think it was...
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy. That game was so good too.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, several former Rare employees have formed their own companies, such as Free Radical Design, best known for producing the TimeSplitters series, and Platonic Games, best known for Ukulele in 2017.
Oh yeah. But wow, TimeSplitters, damn.
Yeah, okay.
Hats off to them.
So yeah, so that's what happened when they left Rare. But before that, how was Perfect Dark? How did it become? Why this idea? Why did they make this? GoldenEye 007 at the N64 was selling like crazy. It was doing super well. Rare was planning to work on a game based the GoldenEye sequel, Tomorrow Never Dies, but the company was outbid by Electronic Arts, which would release their video game adaptation in 1999, which the devs at the time said they were glad, actually, because they didn't necessarily want to make another James Bond, and it opened up possibilities of new stuff they could explore and do whatever they want really with it. But yeah, it says shares many features with its predecessor, runs on an upgraded version of its game engine. Director Martin Hollis led the game's production for the first 14 months of its near 3-year development cycle.
Wow.
Now 3 years sounds today like nothing, but in the time of the N64, that was so long. It took so much time to make. So it was supposed to come out in the 90s, and it came out in the 2000s when we were getting to new generations of consoles, right? So that's how long it was. The game is one of the most technically advanced titles for the N64. Oh yeah, that's for sure. And it required an expansion pack.
For those of you that don't know, an expansion pack was something you actually had to buy in addition to that game, and you had to put it inside your N64 in order for it to play quite a few games actually closer to the end of it.
Yeah. It's sort of weird. They sort of realized, there's a problem.
It's like the goofy little things, that we just took like for granted at the time that we had to do, like buy memory cards and all this stuff.
Oh, it's like you have a save pack that you could plug under your controller. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So it says here, upon release, Perfect Dark received critical acclaim and sold relatively well, which I'm surprised because I don't remember it selling well.
Yeah, like we just said, we both had obviously different schools we went to, and like I said, mine, Perfect Dark wasn't even really talked about, so I'm surprised it had such a good sell-through.
But yeah, no, critics widely praise its graphics, artificial intelligence, because yes, that is one of the first game where you could play with bots in the multiplayer. Like, you couldn't do that with James Bond as well, so that was interesting. And a number of multiplayer options, but some criticize its inconsistent frame rate. That could be said for the whole Nintendo 64, but sure. The game is as one of the greatest games of all time, which I agree with this. I was on my ass at how much this game was ahead of its time, really. We can get into the gameplay now, which is a first-person shooter, like GoldenEye. And so the single player, the campaign, was separated by missions with multiple difficulties, and depending on the difficulties, you had different objectives to accomplish. For example, there's no mission like that, I'm just throwing it out there. Let's say, for example, first mission is to assassinate NPC X. On the higher difficulty, you would have other things like, oh, well, you have to access this computer, hack this, and blah, 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 and all that. It would really change up the game, It tried to do real-time lighting. Like, we just recently achieved this really with recent technologies of having better lighting, and they were basically attempting to do that in the N64 days, if you can imagine it. They spent a lot of time just perfecting the lighting so you can hide in the shadows, you can shoot out lights, basically what Splinter Cell ended up doing as well, and a bunch of stuff like that. You could prone, hide under stairs, They tried to put more stealthy elements. It's sort of half work, in my opinion. I don't know if you think the same, because you just end up running and gunning in the end.
And that auto aim it had, right, just made it so easy to do that. But you're absolutely correct. There were lots of encouragement to not just run and gun, but like to use stealth. I think that the coolest thing with that game was the gadgets that they gave you, right? Every level had a unique gadgets, but it was just really cool how those devices ended up getting utilized. And you're so right. If you think back to that first level, maybe my memory is a little bit foggy, but I'm pretty sure I'm correct on this. When I played it under the normal difficulty, I thought I explored that entire building that you're first in, but I telling you that I recently went back and tried it at a harder difficulty, and there was a basement level I got to this time because the objectives changed, and it was like kind of like a whole new area I was exploring. Like, there was multiple bad guys in there. There were different kind of objectives I had to take care of, and I was blown away. I was impressed. I was like, holy crap, like this game just keeps delivering every time. Yeah, just there's so many things, like you're right, that you see in this N64 game that, like, now 15-20 years later, right, other games are utilizing some of those features, and it's crazy that they thought of this.
Yeah, so early on, and they were like, we can do this on the N64.
It's such a simple device to do it on too. Like, wow, just so impressive.
Yeah, for, like you were saying, gadgets and weapons, like every weapon has 2 modes. For example, there's like a laptop gun that you can use, basically, where it's a laptop but you can shoot with it. But you can also turn it into a turret if you throw it on the ground, or a rifle where again, you can either shoot with it, or the second mode is that it becomes a mine. So you sort of throw the gun on the ground. So if you disarm an enemy, then the enemy will go for the gun and it will explode.
Right, you got your basic ones, you got your night vision goggles, right? You got
Yes.
disruptors for technology. If you got to like turn off a camera or whatever, or mess up the feed, you could do that too. Yeah, it was just really cool for stealth. I usually hate stealth games, and this was one game I'd recommend trying if you hate stealth, because yeah, it approaches it in such a different way that actually makes it enjoyable.
Yeah, no, it's mostly good until we reach the end. Like, the levels are so much more complex. Trying GoldenEye today and Perfect Dark right beside each other, GoldenEye was extremely boring and dated, and Perfect Dark was still fun. And I think the reasoning is probably because of like we were saying, the graphic were much more detailed in Perfect Dark, and the level design of it was so intricate compared to GoldenEye. And they really had an ambience in Perfect Dark. There's really this dark spy thriller ambience to it. GoldenEye sort of, its levels are very open, and a lot of the stuff in there are like shapes that you're supposed to assume what they are. There's a cylinder, but you're sort of supposed to assume that's what you need to blow up, stuff like that.
Yep.
And the story too, it starts off, really cool, where you come in on top of a building that you're raiding, and you sort of think it's a spy corporate espionage thing, but it sort of derails into this alien conspiracy in the end.
I didn't expect much going into it, and again, like, I'm not going to say this is as great storytelling as maybe current games might be, or whatever the case is.
Oh no, for sure.
But it does have a decent story to it, right? Like, it wraps up kind of nicely as it gets closer to the end of the game. And the characters in them too. The characters are so cool. One in particular was Elvis. I loved him, the alien.
I knew you would love him.
I think he was just fantastic. He's just funny. But there's a lot of interactions you have with different people that are joining her throughout her mission. And yeah, like, it was all like decent. It was, it kept you engaged. I was curious how it would wrap up and how it end. I liked the idea of that alien race that you fight throughout it. I thought they were pretty cool, the way they were designed and what their objective was. Like I was telling JW, I really hope that the next one that ends up coming out, whenever it does, kind of captures that same idea. I hope it doesn't take away from it's not silliness, I want to say, but it's like a very wild kind of story.
When it first starts, it's sort of dark, bleak, like corporate espionage, like I say, but the more that it goes on, the sillier it becomes. That's why I say, like, it wasn't that great. Like, it was a good idea, but it's sort of halfway through, or even maybe before, sort of ditches this whole thing. Because when they introduce the alien Elvis, then it becomes silly with his voice and all the stupid stuff that he says. There's sort of comedic relief at that point. But the idea was cool, where she needs to find a scientist or doctor and save him from this company. You end up discovering that this scientist is actually an AI that has an enormous amount of information on these alien species. And so that's why he's so important. You sort of discover that there's a whole cabal of people working with these aliens to usher them in and slowly taking control, while there's another race of alien trying to stop them, the race that Elvis is part from. That's basically the gist of it. Because there's like cutscenes, but not everything is that detailed about the plot. And
it's just cool, that little evolution of like, okay, that first level, I'm pretty sure I know how this game is gonna play out. And like you said, once you get to that halfway point, it just takes a curveball, and it's like, oh, okay. So we're not doing like Splinter Cell or something like that. Like, this is something completely different.
Yeah, and honestly, I think preferred that they kept with the tone of the beginning of the game, because like I say, it sort of becomes silly and funnier towards the end.
I guess maybe I liked it because that's like what Rare is to me, you know what I mean? And
right.
And watching their little what do you call it, their video they had there in Rare Replay, where they just talk about like games that they made, like that's their big passion. They love humor, they love comedy, and you see that in a lot of their games.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So I thought they did a pretty good job executing humor, but keeping it somewhat serious at times. So the one thing I found, like, well, there's multiple, I guess, things that are funny about it, but when you're comparing it to GoldenEye, right? JW's correct. That game has not aged well at all. And I find, I don't know if you feel the same way, JW, but going back to like nostalgia, you either have that moment, right? It's either like, wow, this isn't at all how I remember it as a kid. Obviously I was looking at it through nostalgia eyes. Or there are the few games, and JW showed out one of them before, Conker's Bad Fur Day, that still today are still impressive. Yeah, it's not gonna blow you away graphic wise, but I mean, it's playable. It's enjoyable. Like you can give it to a buddy and more likely they're gonna have a good time with it. Perfect Dark did such a good way. Like, yeah, the levels were big, but it never felt
Lost.
boring or yeah, like you could die and that game was pretty fair where it would put you at. It wouldn't always put you all the way back at the very beginning. You had to redo everything. Sometimes you'd have like little checkpoints you could go back to. Most of the time, yeah, you had to go back right at the start, but I'm comparing that to GoldenEye. When I would have to redo that whole level again, it just felt like, why bother? I don't want to do this. Like, I'm not enjoying this. I don't want to have to go through, like, if I'm comparing the first level, the dam. I don't want to go all the way back at the beginning and shoot those towers and shoot this guy and activate this gate all over again. But Perfect Dark, I was okay with it. I was like, you know what? I screwed up. Yep. Okay, I'm going to try this again. And there were many times I had to restart certain levels. But yeah, it never got boring. It never felt like I wanted to put the controller down. I was always encouraged to try again, keep going. And as I'm sure DW will mention later on, there were many little secrets to these levels too that you would, discover as you were playing through them. And maybe special weapons that were hidden away or whatever the case might be.
Yeah, and something cool as well is you unlock cheats and, new options for playing the game like we mentioned, which is really cool that you don't see today anymore, right? Perfect Dark had co-op as well. You can do the campaign in a co-op setting.
That's right, yeah.
With your friend, which is pretty cool. I don't think you could do the same with GoldenEye either.
No, that one you couldn't. I remember, yeah.
That's pretty cool because every game with the N64 had like this multiplayer component sort of attached on top of a main game often. For example, like Star Fox 64, where co-op it wasn't the focus, but it was just tacked on. So often it was like a separate mode, right? So having a co-op mode for this is super nice and like unexpected. Like except Mario Party, there wasn't really a main game with co-op. And again, you could play with bots too, and the bots are insanely good.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Like they're basically, like, when you're looking at them move, they're like sliding around. It's almost like dealing with a hacker. Like it's terrible because they follow you through the map. Like I'm pretty sure they see you through the map, and so it can be really, really hard if you play with bots. But it's super funny too. Like this game, like we're talking about all the technical achievements, but it's not only the achievements, it's the variety of modes. Like I've already mentioned the co-op and all that, but there's also the counter-operative mode, which is basically allowing one player to play as Joanna, so the person, doing the mission, while another takes the role of the opponent, attempting to stop Joanna. So there's like a mode where you can play as the enemy against the other player as well, but not like an arena shooter mode, like a normal mission. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Even in multiplayer, there's like a bunch of them, like Capture the Flag, Deathmatch, King of the Hill, and it was highly customizable. You could put all sorts of characters, you can put the level of the bots, which teams, the weapons. Like it was way more customizable than GoldenEye too. Like I was surprised actually, because I played GoldenEye on multiplayer and I sort of realized you could not put all the weapons you wanted in a map, which I thought was weird, or in a game.
Yeah.
Like you had to, it was, for example, only assault rifles, and then it was like, okay, so this limits it to what, 2 guns? Like that, it was fairly weak.
Yeah, that's right. You could have like explosives only, right? Like, or whatever you want to set it to.
Perfect Dark sort of rectifies this. You can pretty much change everything you want. There's even like challenges and a bunch of.
Yeah.
It's insane the amount of stuff they've put in this. It's like they knew it was their last game.
Literally, yeah, 100%. It's crazy because you're right. I'm thinking back to GoldenEye multiplayer, and it's such bare bones. Like when you actually like list all these things that Perfect Dark did, it's phenomenal that game was such a staple for anyone that owned an N64. When you literally had like a plethora of options available to you with Perfect Dark. Like that's truly worth the $60 or whatever price tag it had at the time. You were getting full value from Perfect Dark.
Yeah, and to put it in perspective, James Bond at the time was really big. Like, I don't think it had
Oh yeah.
ever been this big as when GoldenEye came out. I think it's still the most successful James Bond movie ever. I think GoldenEye sort of rode a lot on that wave, right? Because it was a really good game for the time when it came out. It was rare to also have a movie tie-in game that was cool.
Absolutely. You think of the games we did get that time, right? Like they were crap. Like really.
Yeah.
If they're a movie tie-in, and this was the first one that actually did a better job of it.
But if you think about it, every time when you talk about James Bond, people think of the first couple of levels. You do not think of the rest of the game, which are big open levels where you see nothing and enemies shoot you.
I remember there was the one there, I can't remember what it's called, but I think it was like it took place in the Arctic or something like that. And I just remember like
oh yeah, and even the enemies are like white, so you can't see them and you just get shot at. I hate this level so much. Like it's engraved in my mind.
And like Perfect Dark has a level similar to that. Just the difference in design. Right, it's just you can tell they learned a lot from GoldenEye and they just took it to the next level.
Oh yeah, that the one in Perfect Dark is actually one of my favorite missions because the objectives are so interesting and different from all the other missions. Also, the visuals and ambience of that place is so cool with the music and all that as well.
Yeah, the music too. That's a good shout. Like, there's a lot of good level selection for music. Really matches the atmosphere.
But yeah, no, there's this. I'm going to spoil it. Your plane sort of crashes, right? It's also one of my favorite missions, I think, because throughout the game you keep getting new gadgets. And in that mission, for the first time, they give you almost all the gadgets you've tried from the past missions. So you have the night vision, you have a tracker, you have like a bunch of stuff. Almost like telling you, go wild. There's an objective where it's to find the president and save him. But then you realize later there's two of them. Someone has like made a clone and you have to decipher which one is the real one, and you have to keep him alive, of course, which is a bit annoying. Like you have to go through a cave as well, so you need to use your night vision while protecting the president, and there's just so much cool stuff in that mission. I mean, that's just one.
Yeah, I said that the whole area was just mapped out so well. Like you were saying, you got the top level there, and even on the top level, like there was quite a bit to go and explore. Because I remember correctly, I think that's where you see Elvis?
Yeah, you crash with him and Elvis is like, well, I have a ship down here, like bring the president here and we'll get out.
Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, yeah. So anyway, it's a fairly large top part, but the JW is right. There's an entire underground part that you get to explore too.
Yeah, there's a lot of verticality.
Yeah, it was just very well done. Like probably one of their better levels in the whole game.
So yeah, it really made an impression, and like it's so surprising because gameplay-wise, GoldenEye and Perfect Dark are pretty much the same, but Perfect Dark does so much more that it's still good if you can digest N64 controls and graphics and all that, right?
Yeah, well, I said playing on the Xbox, like it was amazing. I played GoldenEye on the Xbox, and it felt like it was trying to still do the N64 style, and it was terrible.
That's right. You have actually, because they've done a remaster of this game where the visuals are better and all that. I mean, I've seen bugs that weren't in the N64 version, which was really weird. You know, like these big lights and flashes that keep appearing.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, the lighting was a little bit terrible at times.
It was so weird that wasn't in the N64 version. Like there are bugs that came in with that remaster port.
You know, when you're talking about gadgets, I was just thinking too, like comparing it to GoldenEye, unless you can really think of some, but like I can't think of a lot of good gadgets in GoldenEye. But then when you talk about Perfect Dark, right? Yeah, there was just so many different options available to you. Like I remember in GoldenEye, you had the watch that had the laser, and you could, cut a hole or whatever. And there was I think there was one for the time bomb or the proximity mine, whatever the hell it was. But yeah, there wasn't I don't know, for a spy, you didn't have very much available to you, or an agent, whatever you want to call
No,
them.
it's true. It was very for specific mission. Well, until you unlock the weapons and cheats and all that. But
Yeah.
they existed for specific reasons. For example, the watch with laser was specifically for the train level where you needed to break the hatch open, right?
Yeah. Whereas like
Then-
Perfect Dark, like you said, you had multiple options to use these gadgets that were available to you.
Yeah, so you can finish the level in like many different ways. I mean, sure, there's like a level to follow and all that, but you can mess around really good with the AI too. You know, the AI was
Oh yeah.
pretty like good for an N64. Like it wasn't just like oh, it must be the wind. You know, when they saw you, they
Yeah.
saw you. It was over. Like, but yeah, I think that pretty much covers how Perfect Dark was a masterpiece, so much ahead of its time that for me it's on par with games like, you know, Resident Evil 4 and like all-time like masterpieces that really is timeless at this point.
Yeah, like I was saying, right, there isn't many games that you could honestly go back to from your childhood and say it was as enjoyable now as it was back then. And this is definitely one of those games. It's completely worth it to go back. And like JW emphasized, right, like Xbox has a remastered version. So if you're a graphics prude or whatever you want to call yourself, you know, this is a good opportunity to hop into it and enjoy it on the Xbox. I really enjoyed it.
This annoys me because I don't have an Xbox.
Actually, that's a good point. I'm actually surprised that you can't do rare replay on PC, because I remember you told me that wasn't available on PC.
But yeah, so the upcoming Perfect Dark, which was announced like, I don't know, forever ago. Basically,
Last year, I guess, was the big showcase for it.
Yeah, last year we got a gameplay. Oh, gameplay. They say it's gameplay, but like it looked quite scripted for gameplay, but we'll see.
Agree, yeah.
But yeah, before we go there, the upcoming one, they're still doing a first-person shooter, which is developed by The Initiative and Crystal Dynamics. What's The Initiative? The Initiative is like an Xbox game studio where they put in multiple, I think 2 companies together, multiple devs together to make the next quadruple A next generation games or whatever. They did that in 2018 or 2020, something like that, to create big budget titles. Since then, we've seen nothing, we've heard nothing. I know that there were like problems with the development of this new Perfect Dark, which is why Crystal Dynamics came in. So this is a reboot, what they're making. All the previous ones are gone, or ignored, as far as I know. Obviously quite different. It's very colorful. It's very Deus Ex-like, almost, like we said. Like there's a lot of differences here. It looks really cool to play if it's actual gameplay, like I said, but I sort of have my doubts a bit on this.
There's a few even like destructible environment mechanics in there too. I'm wondering if that's available for everything or if it's just for certain parts, because that'd be kind of cool.
But the real question is, doesn't matter if it's different than the original or not? And the answer is probably not, because nobody cares about Perfect Dark today.
True.
And this is a reboot,
True.
so they can pretty much do whatever they want and call it Perfect Dark. And it wouldn't really matter because the fan base for this is basically so small at this point. And what I thought was interesting as well is that Joanna seems to like have an implant or something. Like she seems to be like getting hacked.
Yeah,
So
multiple times in that trailer.
so that means, like, I guess she's a cyborg or something? I don't know, because that's not a thing in the other game, so that intrigues me as well, what kind of world they've really built here. So, that comes from Xbox Wire, which is the Xbox news. What kind of game is this? Perfect Dark is a first-person secret agent thriller in a near-future world. With the blessing of the original Perfect Dark studio, Rare, not to mention some of the leads from the original titles, which I honestly, I somehow doubted that they've like went out of their way to ask the previous leads of the original titles that are not even part of the team anymore. Like, what did they do? They scoured LinkedIn just to ask if that's good, or
Is it okay if we do this? Are you guys okay with this?
okay, I really doubt it, because Xbox bought Rare and Perfect Dark with that.
Yeah, I don't think they have to ask for permission.
Perfect Dark has pulled inspiration from elements of the first 2 games, but crafted an entirely new story and universe around them for this reboot. For previous fans and new players alike, the new game offers a fresh take on the secret agent experience and is a great opportunity to jump into the world and character. So fans will have moments that resonate with the history and memories of the original games. No prior knowledge is needed in this new experience. So the usual crap about it's as good for old players as new players and nothing is different. Everything's different but nothing is different. That's basically their saying, which is bullshit, of course. So at the widest level, Perfect Dark would be a single player experience with a set of missions, but with choices offered in how you complete those missions. Looking at the trailer, it's clear that the traversal and gadgets are a huge part of this, yes, which is cool. We see new Parker ability used throughout both the movement and combat. Developers tell me that the focus was on creating an intuitive movement system which will let players find interesting ways to tackle their objectives. Add to that combat system that allows for both melee and gunplay, stealth mechanics, and liberal use of gadget, and Perfect Dark is a game that will present players with an objective but let them figure out how they want to achieve it, which is pretty much, I think, in the same spirit as the original. Will there be multiplayer? Because that was a big aspect of the original, you know? I bet you that there won't.
Which is a shame after everything you just praised that game for, you know, in the past.
Yep. I think they would be shooting themselves a bit in the foot if they don't have more than the single player. But I'm sure it won't stifle sales, like I say, because most people don't remember Perfect Dark. Most people, it will be a question of if it interests people in general, not if it harkens back to the original, really. Team Perfect Dark doesn't want this to feel like any one genre. It takes elements of first-person shooter, immersive sims, and stealth action, but blends them into a seamless whole. The goal is to offer a true secret age of fantasy, letting players use their various tools and abilities in the way they want is key to this. So
what bothers me is that they say that, though, right? But when you're watching that trailer, like I just said, that infrared, like being able to see the enemies through objects or in the dark or whatever, was shown quite a bit. And that was it. Like, you know, we got to see some cool, fancy, like you said, acrobatics and stuff like that. But where were the other gadgets?
Well, there was this sort of tablet thing or whatever where she could hack stuff with it.
You know, like we were talking about the N64 version, right? I mean, I know it's a trailer. I know they have to be quick and fast, right? But it would be nice to see a few different gadgets than the same one utilized 3 different times in that level.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe it's going to be one gadget that does a lot, you know, like a smartphone. So, you know,
that's a good point.
We don't know. We don't know enough. So who is Joanna Dark? In this reboot, Joanna is an agent for Datadyne with a deep personal connection to what's happening to her world. In this case, the title Perfect Dark is more aspirational. This Joanna won't be perfect, but she's striving to be. She will make mistakes in this journey and learn from those experiences. Learning who this Joanna is prove to be just as compelling as the story itself. So what does that tell you, Mindful?
So, you know, we're seeing Joanna in her beginning stages, almost like how Perfect Dark Zero was.
You know what it says to me? It says to me there might be some dumb stuff and it's going to be excused because she's making mistakes. But
True.
There might be they might be also trying to just redo the Tomb Raider reboot, right? You know, the first reboot they did.
Yeah, she was a little bit clumsy and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. Which honestly, it's not something that I wanted. I don't need to know about Joanna. She's a secret agent. She should be like herself should be a secret as well. I find. I don't know. This wording. It's the sort of wording that I see where we're gonna do narrative mistakes, but we're gonna excuse it that she's not perfect, and that is why she's just starting. I don't know what is this obsession of constantly doing that. Oh, let's do James Bond at his young years when he made mistakes.
The team is thrilled to announce 007 First Flight. You'll experience James Bond as a young air crewman in the Royal Navy. Before the tuxedo and the martinis, as he first steps into the world of espionage, striving to earn his 00 status.
The most special thing about our version of Bond is that it's an IO reimagination of the origin of Bond himself.
Wanted to make something that was fully original. So he's young, he's someone who doesn't yet know all the things we know about James Bond. He's not yet cold. He's not callous. He's a more energetic. He has that impatience of youth built into him.
Yeah,
Wait.
like you said, the first game what did so well, right? It was like she's already awesome. Like she's already like that amazing agent, and like you said, we didn't give a crap really about her backstory. We were just in it for the moment. It was more of what you could do in the level that made that game. Like we didn't need a whole backstory to her. We didn't know what she went through as a child or crap like that. We just wanted to be the ultimate secret agent, and that's what she was.
And she was competent, and she was funny, snappy, witty. And so this sort of scares me because, I love the original Tomb Raiders, but also the ones after, Legends, and the ones before the reboot, I mean.
I know it's like a kind of a hot take, but I feel like almost like a lot of gaming companies don't realize, don't understand how to make like a strong female character. It's like they put too much, I guess, development of that character. Like you said, like too many, like she's got to make mistakes, she's got to do this, she's got to do that. It's like, no, like there are a lot of great female characters. Like we've talked on the podcast before about like Star Wars and using Leia as an example, right? Like you can make an amazing, strong female character.
You know what why I think that is? I think it's because video games have a reputation and history of making women characters one-dimensional and pretty. So I think they have to double down the efforts to show, like, look, she's in depth. Look, all the things she's going through. Trying too hard to show how much of a cool, powerful female character that they have. I think that's the reason.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree with that.
But yeah, my point I was going to say with Tomb Raider, I like these original Tomb Raiders because Lara Croft was badass, was witty, was super fun, and super cool with her double pistols and, all of the acrobatics she could do. Reboot Tomb Raider, she was more of a like survival type of thing than an action hero badass.
Yeah, it was more crafty, right? That game focused on?
Crafting, survival stuff, and it was really whiny. Every time there was something, it's all my fault.
I hate characters like that.
And Crystal Dynamics are the one that did this reboot, and now they're driving this with the initiative and making Perfect Dark. So seeing wording like this really scares me when it comes to the character. I feel like I'm like reliving the reboot of Tomb Raider all over again, but with Perfect Dark.
I don't know, like you said, it's that kind of game where it doesn't need that story to it. It could literally just start off with her being the best and go from there.
That is why we have so many James Bond,
Yeah.
Because it's all about the different missions that he does and of how a good agent he is, how he always, saves the day, really. And you sort of see part of his character through that.
Yeah. I mean, I think even Sherlock Holmes had that too, now you brought it up. We're like seeing him stumble in his first... like when I watch like Sherlock Holmes or like you said James Bond, whoever it is, the main action star, like, yeah, I want to see them at their best because that's the part that I fell in love with. That's the part that I enjoyed about those movies, Yeah,
exactly. So this is why this part is like the scariest part for me and the most sad part of it, really. But it remains to be seen. These are all theories. It could be none of it in the end.
Out of curiosity though, Crystal Dynamics, so they did Tomb Raider, right, which was a little while ago. Has there been anything like similar that they've worked on, like adventure or story, whatever you want to call these kind of games? Give us an idea if they've actually like improved since Tomb Raider, or have they kind of stuck with that storytelling element?
It's a good question. I'm looking at it now. Okay, you want to know what they do? Okay.
Oh, great.
And shifted into a support role for Shadow of the Tomb Raider while working on Marvel's Avengers in 2020.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot they did that.
That's why I was laughing earlier.
Oh shit, yeah.
Crystal Dynamics did that. They haven't done anything great in the past many years. And Marvel Avengers, I don't think we need to talk about Marvel Avengers, really.
Yeah, oh man. That really worries me. Like,
Maybe it's better they don't do a multiplayer for Perfect Dark. So where is this game set? Perfect Dark's near future world has been impacted by what's known as the Cascade, in which the planet has suffered from a series of environmental disasters, rendering entire regions inhospitable. In the wake of the disaster, a hyper corporation known as Core Mantis steps in to create a solution known as the Gen Network and deploys it in Cairo, restoring ecological balance and creating a freshly walled city insulated from the hostile environment outside to become center for technological innovation. In its wake, other hypercorporations steps in to continue that regeneration, but as you might expect, not all is as it seems, and their motives may be less altruistic than they appear, as with every companies. It's into Cairo that Joanna enters. Setting was chosen to offer a counterpoint to other secret agent stories and media at large. Ancient Egypt and modern Egypt have been seen by many, but a near future take on the country is truly something new. Which I agree, I find it's really cool and original idea.
Yeah. No, that's a good setting.
What can we use gadgets for? There you go, your questions of earlier. Gadgets are pillar of the secret agent genre. Yes, that's what we like to hear. We get tease of a Joanna using a gadget to analyze NPC voices and create vocal deepfakes, to trick security systems or impersonate other characters, as well as create distractions. Okay. So basically, instead of throwing rocks, you do this. What I hope is that you can do is that there's a door locked by voice recognition, and that you can use a person's voice, like a specific person's voice, like a doctor or whatever, to open that door.
Yeah, like find the target and then record his voice.
Gadget can be used for misdirection and manipulation, but we also see that Joanna can use a tool to scan an NPC and learn details about them. It wouldn't be Secret Agent story without some field work, and the developer tell me that parsing the world around you will be a key part of understanding how to tackle your objectives. The first look at combat, it clears there is another aspect of player choice. In the trailer, we see lethal and non-lethal weaponry, close quarters combat, abilities that allow you to take down multiple enemies at once, and more. You can also go loud or go quiet, offering risk-reward for both methods. Team Perfect Dark wants to create a symphony of mechanics merging traversal, close quarter combat, gunplay, unlockable abilities, environmental elements, and gadgets into a unified experience for players. So this to me sounds like the usual shtick that we hear with every single video game.
Yeah.
Which is not that reassuring. They talked about player choice as in you can do lethal or non-lethal, but the mission will still be the same, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this is not player choice.
Yeah, what's the risk reward gonna be like? Maybe nice if they gave a little more detail as to what happens. Like, is it just an achievement? Like, if I'm just gonna get an achievement because I did a melee run, or or a pistol only run, or whatever it might be.
Yeah, or is it going to affect the whole game? But even then,
yeah.
For me, player choice is more like, how they were talking earlier about tackling in different ways an objective. It doesn't mean lethal or non-lethal. It means jump over to that building and use that gadget to get to that objective. It's more about what the player can do and not if it's lethal or non-lethal.
Yeah. A good, game I could think of based on what I've heard would be Hitman. The newer Hitmans, how you're able to tackle those levels in multiple ways. If that's the player choice, then that would be kind of neat.
Or like even the original Perfect Dark, where with a bunch of gadgets and different ways of like stopping the enemies and all that. Hearing that they're looking at it as in lethal, non-lethal, close quarter, abilities to take down multiple enemies at once. These are all stuff we've seen in multiple previous games before, whether it's Assassin's Creed or whatever.
Yeah, it's a very basic thing to do nowadays.
It sounds like normal AAA design, but again, remains to be seen. But this is not reassuring me.
This is your sneak peek at like what the future of Perfect Dark could be like, right? And you're right, they're not really giving you any. There's nothing to sink your teeth into. I guess the best way to say it is what you were saying before about the N64 version, right? On a console that could barely do anything, they pushed the envelope on it, right? And gave us the best experience we could have. And if you're going to take anything from Perfect Dark, like that's how this one should be too. reboot it, do whatever you want. Show us that you're willing to push this game to the next level. Give us something we haven't seen yet. And there is things out there. I mean, much as I go back to it over and over again, like the Nemesis system was a new innovation, right? As far as game went.
It was a great innovation, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm sure there is something they could have thought of that would put Perfect Dark to the next level again. Damn it, GW! You had to talk about the article, and that just killed my vibe. I was like, oh man, it does sound terrible.
Well, I mean, blame Xbox Wire for putting up this stupid fluff piece that I'm sure like that the devs never like I'm sure they didn't talk to the devs, that they just using the usual buzzwords to just market it, right?
Yeah, this will make it exciting.
Player choice.
That's what they like.
Oh, it actually looks close. It looks like Deus Ex, which could be a good sign because Deus Ex is cool.
Yeah, like the trailer was nice. Yeah.
Which is funny because this is not on the Perfect Dark website. It's like on a June 9, 2024 article that Xbox Wire put in at the same time as the trailer. That's why I think it's just a marketing stunt in that it actually has no bearing on the game.
I mean, yeah, I'm still excited to play it though. I'm just excited to see what they're gonna do with Perfect Dark. I mean, there is a good hope. I mean, it all depends what Xbox's next big title is gonna be
and when it comes out.
And when, yeah.
There's no date. Like it's been in development for so long now. I'm trying to see. Okay, development. Perfect Dark first project. You founded in 2018.
Wow. What had to have gotten scrapped and redone again?
September 2020, the initiative announced they would be partnering with Crystal Dynamics on the game's development. Daniel Newberg, who had previously directed several Tomb Raider games, was the game director until he left in 2022. So just 1 year after he came in on the project. In the previous 12 months, a substantial number of developers had also left the company, citing a lack of creative autonomy and slow development progress as the reason for their departures. In May,
this could be dog crap. Let's leave.
By June 2023, Perfect Dark was still in pre-production and roughly 2 to 3 years away from release. So yeah, Perfect Dark will come in when the new consoles come out for sure.
And that alone tells me you are right. That cannot be the gameplay, and that's probably not the game we're gonna have. Because how the hell could they have put that all together in, like, what was it you said, the guys left in 2023 or 2022?
Well, many people left between 2018 and 2022.
Yeah, that's not enough time. There's no way in 2 years they produced a first level or whatever, if they were just dealing with scraps that the other previous people left behind.
Well, especially that in 2023, Perfect Dark was still in pre-production. It was not even in production.
We're gonna have to expect a lot of changes when they do the next trailer announcement for it.
Due to multiple factors, including poor management and creative differences between both studios, progress on the game stalled. In 2022, after the initiative partnered with Crystal Dynamics, development restarted under Unreal Engine 5 and was a bit more productive. Just a bit. There are plans for the game to follow an episodic format. Oh, that would make sense.
Oh, what?
That would make oh, wait. Do they mean like multiple games or episodic format as in missions?
Oh, I was taking it as like Final Fantasy Rebirth.
Oh, Wash. Oh, I hope not.
Because it could be that direction too, right?
Yeah. That's probably closer to the truth. God damn it. It was also reported that the Coalition has been supporting both studios with their Unreal Engine expertise. Jesus Christ. They went and got outside company just to teach them Unreal Engine.
Oh my god.
Coalition is a Canadian video game developer based in Vancouver, part of Xbox Studios. In October 2024, it was reported that former Insomniac Games developer Brian Horton had left the studio, where he was acting as creative director on Marvel's Wolverine, to join the initiatives as a Perfect Dark's new creative director over the summer. What? They changed creative director when they showed the trailer for Perfect Dark?
Wow. Oh my god. Like, it's so disappointing. It shows you like how little they cared about this project. Like, honestly, if you lost that many people, they should have scrapped it. Just said, you know what, we're gonna be delayed for a bit. We're gonna start from ground zero and just, rebuild in a new direction.
It should be that hard, honestly, because they could have done anything with that IP. with
Oh, absolutely.
with how little there was and how long time that had passed between like each titles. They could have done anything.
Look at the games, see what was the magic about them, and then take it from there. Like, you know, like just make your own story. I don't really give a crap, you know, have Joanna do whatever you want. But yeah, just like see what worked on the previous titles and just take that and go with it.
You know, if they hadn't closed, you know, Arcane, it would have been awesome to see them do a Perfect Dark. I think it would have been up into their alley. Like, they are really good with immersive sims, and I think they could have probably done some interesting, innovative stuff. But it's dead. Thank you, Xbox.
It sounds like Perfect Dark might be too. So I guess the best question to ask you, JW, if by the rarest chance in the world, right, they were to come up to you and say, okay, you know, as someone who played Perfect Dark in the past, what are you hoping for? Obviously, like you said, story and all that we know is scrapped, right? But the magic of that first game, what is the best that you could hope for in this new Perfect Dark that they could capture again?
They don't have the same ambience because, you know, it was darker and dystopian, the original one, which I like.
Yeah.
I'm into those stuff. I mean, not that it's bad or anything. It's just colorful Cairo, nature mixed with technology, all aesthetic. It's sort of, it appeals less to me. But it's original how they've done it. The fact that it's set in Cairo and all that, so I'm ready to be open with this. But beside the ambience, because I think it was really heavy, the ambience that was carrying that Perfect Dark game. Colors, the specific lighting they gave it, and all that. So what I would like is real player choice. I don't want just the choice to lethal, non-lethal. I want multiple objectives, depending on the difficulty would be nice, like the old ones. I'm sure they won't do it, but yeah, no, really player choice of an agent. Not just kill or unconscious. Different actions you can do, gadgets you can use, and that is a fun time of doing that, and that makes you want to repeat those levels like the original Perfect Dark makes you feel.
Absolutely. I agree with you fully. I want to be able to go into this game now 20 years later, right, where technology has gotten a lot more advanced, and I want to beat the first level and think, no, I want to go back now and try this, because I noticed that, you know, I missed out on this opportunity. I want to feel like I want to go back into these levels and replay it over and over again, the same way that I'm feeling right now about the N64 version.
Yeah, it's addictive, really, like to just redo them over and over and doing some stuff different, or even not necessarily some stuff different. You just like that level, you know, and you want to redo it. Because I feel there's a lot of games these days that are missing that element of, like, it's so fun and cool and different that you just want to replay it multiple times.
Exactly, like when it comes to player choice, I hope they're not just meeting story. Like, I don't really care what happens to Joanna, like, throughout this. I just want to, like, experience that level. And I'm happy that when you mentioned that there is going to be like a level base, so to speak, so at least it won't be like a giant open world that you're exploring. I'm hoping we'll see what happens at the end. Yeah, like I just want to go back and replay whatever levels caught my attention the most. Hopefully, you know, maybe there'll even be like some kind of version of cheats or something like that where you get to use ridiculous stuff later on.
I doubt it, but it would be awesome.
I doubt it, yeah. It would be awesome, you know.
But what will probably end up happening is that you'll finish the game and you'll be able to do New Game Plus and have all the gadgets.
Ooh, yeah, that'd be worth it. I think the only thing missing, like we both said, was just that it's a shame there won't be multiplayer. But then again, based on the company's history, like you said, maybe that's a good thing.
So, is there anything else you wanted to add?
You know, we've said it multiple times at this point, but like, play it, folks. Play the original Perfect Dark, whether you want to do it JW's run on the N64, you want to do it the way I did on Xbox. I can't emphasize that enough. I can't shout that out enough. Play this game. It is so worth it.
That's pretty much it. Like and subscribe if you've liked what you've heard, seen on my channel and MINDFULPIG's channel. Be sure to check the description. There are more links. Check all that. And thank you all for joining. Hope you like this.
Thanks, everybody.